Hello, Virgo. I want to start by saying something that I need you to actually hear. Not process from a distance, not immediately qualify with reasons why it probably does not apply to you specifically. Actually, hear you are being thought about right now by more than one person in more than one place with more intensity than you have any idea about. And one of those people, the one whose energy is coming through the strongest, the one whose thoughts about you have a particular quality of heat and urgency and almost involuntary preoccupation, is younger than you. And what they are feeling is not casual. It is not a passing interest. It is not the kind of thing they can redirect with distraction or explain away with logic. What they are feeling about you has taken up residence in them in a way that is starting to feel less like a feeling and more like a fact of their internal landscape, like something that is simply there, whether they want it to be or not, whether it is convenient or not, whether it makes sense by any reasonable measure or not. It is there, constant, specific, entirely about you. Uh, Let me describe what is happening inside this person, because I think understanding their internal experience is going to shift something in how you have been reading this situation. They think about you in the in-between moments, not just when something reminds them of you, not just when your name comes up or your presence enters the room, in the quiet gaps between other things, the moments between one task and the next, the space between sleeping and waking, when the mind goes where it actually wants to go rather than where it is directed, the random, ordinary stretches of an unremarkable day, when thought should be going nowhere in particular, and it goes with a kind of inevitability that they have stopped trying to fully understand to you. They have tried to redirect it. I want to be clear about that because it is important. This is not someone who has simply surrendered to the feeling without resistance. They have attempted to manage it, attempted to apply logic to it, to remind themselves of the reasons why the intensity of what they feel is disproportionate or inconvenient or complicated, to find other places to put the energy, other things to focus on, other people to notice. And none of it has worked. Not because they have not tried hard enough, because this particular feeling does not respond to that kind of management. It is not the kind that dims when you look away from it. It is the kind that is somehow brighter when you return. The kind that has decided it is not going anywhere and has settled in with the quiet confidence of something that knows it belongs. That is what they are caring about you every single day. Right now, as you are reading this, now I want to address the age dimension directly, because I think it is the part of this that your own mind may be most resistant to. The part most likely to trigger the immediate qualification. But they are younger, what would that even look like? Am I reading that right? I want to talk about why the younger energy is significant rather than questionable. Because there is something specific about being chosen by someone younger that carries a particular kind of weight, a particular kind of meaning. Younger people are not yet as practiced in the art of performing attraction. They have not yet developed the full repertoire of social management that comes with time and experience, the learned ability to feel one thing and present another, to compartmentalize desire so cleanly that even the person carrying it can sometimes be unsure what they actually feel. What a younger person feels tends to show more directly, tends to be less filtered through the accumulated layers of self-protection that experience builds, which means that the intensity you may have sensed, the quality of attention that felt like more than ordinary, the moments where something in how they engage with you registered as different from how people usually engage with you, that was not your imagination elaborating on something neutral. That was real feeling, showing through real gaps in their ability to fully contain it. You were reading it correctly. You have been reading it correctly. The doubt came later. The initial read was accurate. Let me tell you what specifically draws them to you. Because it is not what you might assume. It is not about aesthetics, though that is present. It is not about status or achievement or any of the external markers that attraction is often reduced to when people try to explain it simply. What draws this person to you is something harder to name and therefore more powerful. It is the quality of your presence, the specific way you occupy a room or a conversation or a moment. There is something about how you hold yourself, not physically necessarily, though that is part of it, but energetically. The way you engage, the way you listen when you listen, the way something in you does not scramble for approval or shrink to fit a space or perform for an audience. You have a groundedness, a settledness, a quality of being comfortable inside your own existence that is rarer than you know. And to someone younger, someone who is still in the process of finding that kind of settledness in themselves, who is still navigating the particular uncertainty of a life that has not yet fully cohered, that quality in you is magnetic in a way that is almost disorienting. It pulls at something in them, not just attraction, recognition, the sense of being in the presence of something they want to move toward. Something that feels like an answer to a question they are still in the process of formulating. You represent something to them, not in a projection sense, not in the sense of a fantasy they have constructed, in the sense of a real quality they genuinely perceive in you and genuinely respond to. And that response is not going away. Now I need to tell you about the others, because the title of this reading did not say they are the only one. It said they are not the only one. And that is not an exaggeration for effect. That is something I am reading very clearly in the energy around you right now. There is more than one person whose thoughts are oriented in your direction with a frequency and an intensity that would surprise you if you could see it directly. More than one person who carries an awareness of you into their ordinary days. More than one person who has had a version of the internal conversation about you. The one that goes back and forth between acknowledging what they feel and finding reasons to manage it, between wanting to do something about it and talking themselves back from the edge of action, between the pull toward you and the caution that keeps them from moving toward you as directly as the feeling wants them to. There is a particular person, in addition to the younger one whose energy I want to name specifically, someone who has known you longer, someone whose feeling for you has had more time to develop into something layered and complex and not entirely comfortable for them. This person has a history with you that gives their current feeling a particular weight. There is something unresolved in how they hold you, something that has not fully settled into either clarity or closure. A kind of open question that they return to with a regularity that tells me it has not been answered to their satisfaction. They watch you, not always visibly, but with a consistency that would be obvious to anyone who knew where to look. They track your life in whatever way is available to them, and what they track keeps producing in them the same complicated feeling. The feeling of something unfinished, something that was set down before it was complete, and that has not stopped mattering simply because it was set down. I want to talk about something that I think is sitting just below the surface of your awareness around all of this. Something that the people who are drawn to you are responding to, that you yourself may be undervaluing. You have changed in the kind of way that happens slowly enough that from the inside it is nearly invisible. The kind of change that does not feel like change while it is happening because every step of it felt like just another ordinary day. But from the outside, from the vantage point of people who have known you across time or who are encountering you fresh, the cumulative effect of that change is visible and it is striking. There is something different about you than there was, a quality that was present before, but perhaps more muted, more tentative, more hedged by uncertainty or the weight of circumstances that were asking a lot of you. That quality has come forward, has become more pronounced, more accessible to the people in your vicinity. And people feel it even when they cannot name it. They feel it as a pull, as an inclination toward you that they may not be able to fully explain if asked to justify it. It just feels like they want to be near you, want to be in your orbit, want to know how you think about things, want access to whatever it is you carry that makes being around you feel different from being around most people. That is not accident. That is the result of the internal work you have done. Work that was private, work that was difficult, work that nobody handed you credit for while you were doing it. But work that has produced something real and visible and magnetic in the person you are right now. You are different, and the people around you are responding to the difference, even when neither they nor you can fully articulate what it is. And let me go back to the younger person for a moment, because there is something specific about their situation that I want to describe. Something that is creating a particular kind of tension in them right now. They are at the edge of saying something or doing something or in some way breaking through the management of this feeling and letting it be known. They are at the edge. Not because they have become reckless, because the effort of not being at the edge is becoming more costly than they want to keep paying. There is a fatigue that sets in when you spend sustained energy containing a feeling that does not want to be contained. When every interaction requires monitoring, when every exchange requires editing, when you have to be constantly aware of how much is showing through and actively managing the amount, that is exhausting work. And they have been doing it for longer than is comfortable. And the cost of it is starting to exceed what they are willing to pay to maintain the appearance of this feeling being smaller than it is. Something is going to shift in how they show up around you, in what they allow to be visible, in the degree to which the management holds versus the degree to which the feeling breaks through. You are going to notice it. If you have not already started to, a quality in their interactions with you that is slightly less contained than it used to be. A moment where something real surfaces and neither of you quite knows what to do with it for a beat. A shift in the temperature of how they engage with you that is impossible to attribute to anything other than what it actually is. Pay attention when that moment comes. Do not explain it away. Do not be so busy managing your own surprise at it that you miss the opening it creates. I want to address something that I suspect is present for you around all of this. A question that lives somewhere in the mix of everything you feel when you sit with the reality that more than one person is drawn to you in this way. And the question is something like, why? Not in a self-deprecating way necessarily, but in the genuine, curious, slightly bewildered way of someone who has not fully updated their internal picture of themselves to match the person they have actually become. You are still, in some part of your self-perception, operating from an older image, a version of you that predates the changes I described, a version that was more uncertain, more unformed, more caught in circumstances that made the full expression of who you are difficult or impossible. And from inside that older image, the level of interest being directed your way right now does not fully compute. It feels like more than makes sense. Like there might be some mistake in the data. There is no mistake. The data is accurate. The image is just out of date. The person that the younger one is obsessed with, that the others are quietly carrying feelings about, that multiple people are thinking about in their private, unguarded moments, that person is the current version of you, not the older image you sometimes still identify with. The actual you, the one that exists right now, the one that has been shaped by everything you have been through and emerged from it as something genuinely compelling. Update the image. Let the internal picture catch up to what is actually there, because you cannot fully receive what is being offered while you are still operating from a picture of yourself that does not include the person you have already become. Let me talk about what you do with this. Because knowing that people are drawn to you, knowing that the younger one is at the edge of showing it more directly, knowing that others are carrying feelings about you that have more weight than they have let on, all of that is interesting. But interesting is not the same as actionable. And I think what you actually need is not just the confirmation, but a sense of how to move with it. So let me be practical for a moment. You do not need to do anything dramatic. You do not need to reorganize your life around any of this or make decisions today that you are not ready to make. What you need to do is simply become more available. Not in the sense of making yourself more accessible to everyone, in the sense of being more present in your own interactions. More willing to let something real come through in the moments where it wants to. Less committed to the performance of indifference or the management of how much of yourself you show. The people who are drawn to you are drawn to the real version, not the managed one. The managed one is fine, it is competent, it navigates the world effectively. But it is not what is making the younger person lose sleep. It is not what the other one carries into their private moments. It is not what multiple people are responding to when something in them leans in your direction. what they are responding to is the parts of you that are not managed, the unguarded moments, the genuine laugh, the real opinion offered without hedging, the moment of actual presence that is different from polite engagement. Give more of that. Not to everyone, but in the moments where it is safe and appropriate and real, let more of the actual you be available. Because that is what they are all, in their different ways, reaching toward. And the more available it is, the less they have to reach. Here is something I want to name because I feel it strongly and I think it matters. There is a protectiveness some of you carry around receiving this kind of attention. Not protectiveness in the sense of healthy boundaries, protectiveness in the sense of a reflexive minimizing of what is being offered. A kind of immediate discounting that happens when someone shows you that you matter to them in a significant way, an impulse to reduce it, to explain it away, to find the reason why what they feel is not quite as real or as significant as it appears. That impulse comes from somewhere understandable, from a history of having things not be quite as real as they appeared, from the learned wisdom of someone who has been caught off guard by the gap between what was presented and what was true. That wisdom served you, but applied universally, applied to every person who approaches you with genuine feeling, it becomes a barrier rather than a protection. It keeps out the things that could hurt you, and also the things that could genuinely matter. What I am reading in the energy of the people drawn to you right now is not performance. It is not the kind of feeling that is going to reveal itself as something smaller than it looks. It is real, and it deserves to be received as real. Let yourself receive it, not recklessly, not without your own discernment fully engaged, but without the automatic minimizing that has sometimes kept genuine things at a distance. They did not deserve. I want to close with something that I think is the heart of this entire reading. Something that all of the individual threads, the younger person, the others, the question of how to receive it, are pointing toward. You are more seen than you know. That is the core of it. Not in a vague, everyone matters kind of way. In the specific way that the particular person you are, with the particular combination of qualities and history and presence and depth that make you exactly you and not anyone else, is registering with people, is landing, is creating an impression that does not fade when you leave the room. That stays, that travels home with people in their thoughts. That surfaces at inconvenient moments in their ordinary days. That makes them reach for their phone and put it down again. That makes them rehearse things they want to say to you. That makes them more aware of themselves in your presence than they usually are. That makes them want to be the version of themselves that you would find most compelling. That is the effect you have on more than one person right now, today, while you are sitting here listening to this, and probably in some part of you still half convinced that it does not quite apply to you specifically. It applies completely, specifically to you. The younger one knows it. The others know it. The only person in this equation who is still catching up to the full reality of it is you. And now, a little more than before, you know it too.